Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the latest episode of The Outsider. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Literally picking up where last week's episode left off. The fact of the matter is, you got Holly, Eunice, and Ralph talking to those cops. It's like, oh yeah, this doesn't look like Claude. I mean, we were here with Claude the entire time. Why exactly were you here basically being his alibi? Now we're questioning him about some other case that, it's like, all right, that Frankie Peterson case. So like, because obviously they have to dodge around it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I could see why this person looks a little, but it's like, it's just resemblance that, it's like having to skirt around is so much. It's like, yo, and you see the way your boy Ralph is bobbing and weaving during this conversation. It's like, yo, when he saw it at the end of the last episode, it's like, oh yeah, it's done. Ralph believes he's here. He's right there in that moment. I'm like, dude, this is nuts. And so now we're to that question. We're at that point where like, all right, all bullshit aside, no more getting caught up in this. What's the game plan? How are we going to deal with this thing? Howie is still on the outs with this whole thing. It's like, all right, Ralph, do you actually believe that? For him, it's like, we're kind of already past that. Ralph is like, we kind of have to believe right now. If you not kind of want to believe, like kind of basically what he was kind of told last episode, you're not going to believe, you need to kind of get the hell out of here. Because it's like, okay, so the whole plan is to not tell Claude anything. Because once again, that beautiful like psychic connection between them, anything that Claude knows, the creature most likely will know too. So it's like, all right, so we got to keep Claude in the dark. But it's like, all right, so how do we deal with this thing? Well, it's like, well, do we kill it? It's like, well, do we even know if this thing can be killed? It's like, yo, we're asking these questions like, well, we know little bits here and there about this creature just because of mythology. But mythology isn't always true, isn't based on facts. So it's like, how do we deal with this thing? Even Claude's brother being like, because they were talking, because even Holly's like, we protect Claude, we contain it for now. But it's like, and even Claude's asking, do any of you have any idea how to deal with this thing? And it's like, no. Because the whole point is like, this thing made a mistake. It was hungry, but now it's even hungrier. Like, that was the whole thing. Because Eunice is like, I get weak when I'm hungry. But obviously it's like, well, is this thing necessarily going to be... Well, we know, as the audience know, this thing isn't going to be weak because it's eaten. Like, Jack has fed this thing. It's not at full strength, but it's definitely a lot stronger than it would be because if it hadn't eaten that little boy Sam. But it has eaten enough now to at least bolster its strength. Definitely, probably not at its full like superhuman strength, most likely, not probably at its full savagery. But the fact of the matter is, it's animalistic enough to kind of still, I'm sure, take people down. So it's like, all right, so what are we going to do? Basically, Howie was supposed to take Claude somewhere, go pick up some chicken and stuff like that. It's a drive away, quote a bit away, but it's like you drive away so that he can't be around while they're planning because they got to figure this out. Hell, Ralph is calling up Jenny and Jenny's about to leave, and it's like, yeah, we found it, and she's like, what are we talking about? And it's like the thing is, it's like, she's like, wait, what? She's like, don't tell me you're going to go get it. It's like, no, we're just going to find out where it is and leave it to other people. Jeannie's like, please don't confront this thing. She's like, I don't want you to die. Because what did that thing say to her last time it met her? You get your husband to back off this, or I will kill you and I will kill him. And obviously she's scared because it's like, she said it last episode, we saw what they went through losing Derek. She can't go through that again, losing Ralph. So it's like, but Ralph's like, I'm not going to get involved in that. But it's like, at the end of the day, I'm like, are you going to have a choice if it means taking this thing down once for all? Who knows, So a lot of that stuff is kind of flowing through their mind, because obviously another thing is to like, all right, let's find the nearest cemetery, because the fact of the matter is, where Claude's family is buried and stuff like that, because it's like, all right, we need to find the cemetery, because obviously this thing likes to take up root near cemeteries. But like one of the cemeteries they find, Claude's brother ends up talking about the fact is most of the like water type of situation where like the bodies kind of got washed up and stuff like that. So there's a different cemetery they had to check out. So Andy and Holly go check that out. And obviously Eunice and Ralph go talk to the families. Talk to Sam, because they're trying to get the ins and outs of like, all right, did he do anything to you? Okay, nothing happened. He touched you, but nothing like that happened. Did he scratch you? Like, okay, nothing. It's like, and the little boy is like, oh, would he have done something to me? And Ralph's like, no. It's like, yeah, because the last thing you want is that kid or even anyone in his family worried about. Because you don't even want them to know, that his family, his grandparents to know that this is connected to that Frankie Peterson case. Like, you don't want that to happen. So it's a thing of like, no. It would have never been anything like that. So, it's like, which, obviously Ralph has got it clearly painted in his mind what this thing is capable of. Like, he was there, him and Eunice were both there to see what happened to Frankie. So it's like, that whole situation in itself is super rough. Which, speaking of that, you see like the DA. There was a body that was found. I don't know if that, because I don't think that was the same person that Jack killed and fed to the creature. I don't believe. Maybe it was, because it was like a young boy. So like, I don't know how young that person they killed. Like, so it must mean that he ended up doing, maybe that's supposed to be set up for something else entirely. But the fact is they introduced, I'm like, wait, so was that a victim that thing's had recently? Because like I said, I don't think it's the person that Jack killed last episode. Would the creature, because like the whole point was to give him, but I mean, maybe that is the same person, but I feel like there wouldn't be anything left. But maybe depending on how young the person is. I assumed it was like an older dude just because of that the vehicle they stole and everything, but maybe it is the same person. Maybe it was a younger person. I don't know, because it seems like it likes kids. So the question is, if that wasn't it, maybe it was someone else or something else, or maybe there's more rolling around. We'll get to that, soon enough. But that's kind of where my mind started wondering. But it's like, all right, so they learned about the bear cave, and that's when they learned, from Claude's brother, because there was this other interesting element to the episode where we had that stuff in the past where that dad was looking, it was like he's looking for his son John and George. Immediately my brain started thinking, is that supposed to be Jack's backstory? Because his name is John Jack. So I was like, is that supposed to be Jack? But it's like, no, because we end up finding out from Claude that all that takes place in the 40s. Two little boys get lost in a cave and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good. Because I was wondering like how this connects. Because I was wondering like, because it's like, oh, here's a bear cave and everything. And we know that they're in a bear cave because at that facility, at that like zoo or preserve or whatever that was, that the creature pretending to be Claude tried to get them at, there was no actual bear cave. So it's like, okay, but basically this cave had gotten sealed off because in the 40s, because of that whole thing, like that dad brought down a whole bunch of people with him to find his kids, because he like could only hear their voices, but he couldn't get to them. So he got rounded up people to kind of help and everything. And it turns out basically them yelling caused the cave, it was very unstable, and they ended up getting trapped. And then it's like, what happened to him? Then my mind started, they didn't say this, but my mind went, wait, whoa. Are we until dawning this right now? That's what I was wondering. I was like, does this actually kind of, I was like, wondering if that connected to El Cuco. I was like, is that how this thing actually became? Like, is it a person that got possessed by a spirit or something like that? Because we know this thing is very Oka. Once again, like it's when it was Terry, its prints were old at one point. It had Terry's prints, but it didn't have the prints of like an 80 or 90 year. So this thing is very old. So then I started thinking like, well, that could fit around that time. Because like, when originally the groups are all together, like when it's like, oh, their dad is kind of leading the charge and everything. I was like, is El Cuco actually one of these groups? And then I start wondering like, maybe there is a connection there that we're just not aware of. Because the thing is like, how would this, for one, I was wondering how this thing would know about that. It's like, well, it kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things now, because it's like, well, it knows it because of Claude, because this is like something that most people around town wouldn't know, but Claude and his family would know, because they lost their grandfather and his three brothers to this whole situation. So they lost family to this. So it's understandable why this would be something that maybe the rest of the town forgot, but they hold on to because it personally affected their family. So that's how this thing knows about the bear cave, because it's in Claude's mind. It knows everything that Claude knows, So it's like, oh, dude, and even Claude's dealing with this whole thing of like, do you actually kind of like, it's like, because even Howie's still not fully processing it, but Claude is like, how are you handling all of this? It's like, for him, it's like the whole thing of like knowing that this thing is inside his head and he's understanding what the group is doing. It's like they're not telling him anything, because if this thing knows what he knows, it's inside his head. And obviously he ends up like, he's like, stop, and he throws up. And it's like, you ever had that situation where you try to will away a code and he's like, yeah. Howie's like, yeah. And he's like, did it ever work? And Howie's like, nope. And he's like, yeah. Like, the fact of the matter, it's like, no matter what you do, the flu, cancer, whatever, it gets in. This thing got in, and there's no kind of getting it out. And so it's just kind of like, how are they going to handle this, And I thought it was kind of interesting, Howie and Claude had that conversation too about like, Claude's like, do you remember me? Could you actually represent me? And it's like, oh, did you win? He's like, the case? He's like, no, the bar fight. He's like, I wouldn't have needed you if I lost the bar fight. But it's like basically he had gotten like 90 days and he had, I think it was like AA or something he had to go through. And Howie's kind of like, well, it's actually a good thing you don't remember. It's actually, you should count yourself lucky that I don't remember. He's like, why? He's like, I've represented so many evil people. So the fact of the matter is that I don't remember you kind of shows that, hey, your little transgressions is not the most evil thing for me to recognize. So it's like, you're kind of, you had some bumps in the road, but you were not, that bad. So there was also this sweet moment between Andy and Holly where it's like, oh yeah, these people, he's like, oh yeah, they died a couple of days apart. He's like, I like to believe, it's like, maybe it's a thing of like, they're so connected that the fact is, when one partner dies, the other kind of follows soon after just because they can't live without him. But Holly's like, no, it was, influenza spreading around at the time. But he was like, you could say all you want to, but the fact of the matter is, I like to believe that, it's because they were so connected and they couldn't be apart from each other. And Holly smiles and he's like, well, did I say something funny? She's like, no. He's like, so why are you smiling? And she's like, come on. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Because you could see the happiness on his face making Holly smile. Because I think for her, it's the sentiment of knowing that, like, hearing that he believes in, like, soulmates and stuff like that, that people can be so connected. I think she likes that. Because, Holly is kind of a religious person. So I think, like, an angle of that kind of rings true from her. Like, even with just, like, the way her mind works, she can still appreciate something. The beautiful sentiment of it, There's also another interesting element to this is Glory coming over and to talk to Jeannie. And I think that was kind of interesting because it's like, she's like, I know, I was kind of upset because everything that was coming basically out of Holly's mouth, because she thought like it was almost like almost like a cruel joke or something, like it was some setup or something like that. But Jeannie's like, honestly, I didn't know what Holly was going to say. None of us did. But Glory's like, but you believed what she said. And she's like, and I still do. Like for Glory, she still doesn't believe in this old El Cuco situation. But Jeannie's like, honestly, with everything that's going down, honestly, I don't have enough energy to deal with your reaction and believing all of this, like taking the time to explain it all to you, having the realization of believing it. Like, I don't have time to kind of you to deal with your reaction of all of that. Because for Jeannie, because for Glory, it's a thing of like, at the end of the day, throughout all of this, Jeannie has been the only person that's actually, been there for her and the girls. She appreciates the way that Jeannie's kind of respected them and helped them through this time. But even Jeannie's like, understand that whether you believe this whole El Cuco situation or not, they are doing all this to kind of deal with this situation. So it's not like, everyone's kind of putting their lives in danger to kind of stop this. So I thought that was kind of an interesting, element to it. I was all, because even Gloria's like, she ran into the DA dude, but she was like, because she's in the process of suing him, and as well as a lot of people, like it wouldn't have been appropriate to talk to him, but he was trying to, maybe it had something to do with that body that ended up getting found and everything. We'll kind of circle back around to that, but upon hearing about the caves, it's like, all right, so what are we going to do? We're going to go there. It's like, yeah. And he's like, and then once again, Claude's brother is like, then what you going to do? He's like, then we're going to bring in some backup. And it's like, and what are you going to tell them? It's like, oh, we're just going to tell them that the suspect connected to that is in there. And it's like, okay, so basically you're going to send people in there not knowledge about this. Because for him, he's like, you need to let my brother know, because what ends up happening if this thing ends up slipping past you, slipping past all those people you brought in, it will come after my brother, and he's trying to protect his brother, because he had made that point of like, my brother's all I have in this world. And Ralph is like, I understand you. And he's like, I hope, and Claude's brother is like, I hope you do, because Ralph can understand too, because Jeannie's kind of the only thing he's got left in this world after losing Derek, so there is understanding and empathy and sympathy in that regard. But the whole plan is still kind of like, all right, we're going to go to the cave. Still, the whole point is like, all right, we're just going to go there, see where it is. But on the drive there leads to some interesting conversations. You have, Eunice bringing this up about like, well, Ralph, I've noticed you stopped using if, this and that. And then he's like, and it's like, Ralph is like, well, kind of had to throw everything out. Basically had to throw everything out and just kind of accept the craziness that is it all, that it's all. And it's like, how does that make you feel? He's like, honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach. Because for Ralph brings up a good point of like, what is this, like, what this means for our world? It's like what we thought was real. Like, for one, it's like, the fact of the matter is, if this thing exists, who knows what else in our world exists? It starts opening up your mind of like, anything's potentially possible. What we thought was possible and real in this world just blew up in our faces with something like this existing, And Home Dude is like, we take everything like one bite at a time. You take a bite of enough of what you can handle. So basically, it's like you don't think about 10 steps ahead. You think about, hey, this stands right here. We got to deal with it. Then beyond that, you take smaller bites, processing anything else that comes your way. But Eunice throws a wrench in that, being like, small bites, my ass. Go, what if we, or what if this thing doesn't take to being captured? Then we kill it, right? But what if this thing can't be killed? Yeah, there's no like small bites. We got to jump full force ahead when thinking about this whole thing. So it's like, what are we going to do? Then, we're back to Claude's brother being like, oh, we should let my brother know about this. It's like, no, we shouldn't. How we go fix this something. And in that moment, he can hear Claude yelling because Claude's like, you idiot. You told me now their lives in danger. I forgot how he called him. He basically called him a fucking idiot, which is like, you are an idiot. You ruined everything. And that thing's head kind of perks up inside the cave because in that moment, it knows what Claude knows, and it's like this thing was unprepared. Now it's ready for them, and you see Jack walking away. I'm like, oh, and we see him lock and loading later. I'm like, it's got its guard dog on what Jack has its guard dog on watch now. I'm like, oh, dude, because it was interesting too, because like Sam's grandfather had made a point of like it looked like it was still wearing someone's mask. It looks like its eyes were kind of a little far back in its sockets, but the fact of the matter is now. It is the thing, when we get to see it again, it does look a lot more like Claude, like it is slipping more into that skin. So it's like, oh, dude, this can't be good. And they're trying to contact the group. Nope, no contact. And even Claude's brother's like, yeah, I might have fucked this up. I'm like, you think? You idiot. What is wrong with you? I get it. You want to protect your brother and everything. You screwed the pooch majorly. So they're all locked and loaded. They're making their way there too. Of like, yo, we got to help. We got to catch up to him before they walk into this trap. And it's like, dude, Jack is lock and loading. He's getting ready. I'm like, oh, dude, this isn't. And then that scene between Andy and Holly where it's kind of like, oh, he's referencing movies and she's selling a date and who's made it by. And she's like, oh, how'd you enjoy the movie? She's like, I've never seen it. He's like, that's my girl. And so, all right, let's get this done. I'm like, oh, God. And then Jack is lock and loaded. They're all walking around. I was like, oh, he's swaying back and forth between people. I'm like, shit. I won't lie to you. First person in my mind, I'm like, it's Andy, isn't it? Oh, it's going to be fucking Andy. It's going to be Andy just to screw over Holly. I was actually thinking it would be Holly be the first target, but then like maybe Andy ended up getting away last second or something. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, dude, this thing is swaying back. And then it kind of goes, he kind of goes to Ralph. I'm like, is Ralph going to be the first target? I wasn't sure. I was like, I was like, is something going to happen in the last second? I was like, oh, I was paranoid that entire scene, them driving up, I was scared. I was like, dude, I feel like Jack could pop off at any moment. And then when it cut back to Jack, I was like, oh, he hadn't started getting ready yet. Oh, but now he is. I was like, oh, dude. I was thinking like it would even cut the black beforehand. It's like, nope. Home Dude gets the bullet in the back of his head. I was like, oh. And Ralph is standing there like when he gets shot and then it cuts to black. All the fires, you hearing the bullets, it's like, shit just went down. Shit just got real. I'm like, dude. And I think maybe that's it coming full circle. Because remember what Home Dude said, talking about take things, small bite at a time and that. But I think it's also because remember what he said, the reason why he didn't come down the first time with them was because he tasted copper in his mouth, So like everything you went through with the military to kind of make it meet your end like this, especially which is interesting, and maybe that's kind of also an interesting level to this too, is the fact is that Jack tried to go out for the military and stuff like that, but turned out not to be the case. So I was like, okay. So yeah, that's going down. I'm like, dude, who's going to make it through? Oh, I was like, dude, because not only do you have Jack to deal with, which he's an expert sniper, not only do you have to deal with that, you've also still got to contend with that thing, and we don't know what it's capable of, because obviously it can get inside of people's heads, and in a moment, in that confrontation, when it locks eyes with you, who knows, it's like the moment that thing sees it doesn't even need to lock eyes with you, because obviously it already got inside of Holly's head, it's already gotten inside of Ralph's head, so it could just be like they are kind of using stuff to kind of, I don't know. Dude, the next episode is going to be wild because the next episode is, in fact, the finale. How this shit is going to end, I have no idea. And I'm so excited to find out, like, is there going to be a win? Is there any winning to this? Is there any killing this thing? My immediate thought is probably gonna have to trap this thing in a cave. There's probably no killing it. You'll probably trap it, but then it might be that cliffhanger ending of like, yep, someone's eventually gonna dig it back up, and lo and behold, you gotta recycle all through it again. But then again, that DA, that boy's body, so it's like, wait, so is there another creature out there like this? Is there's more than just this one? Because they don't know anything about it, so there could be a completely other creature, another one out there. Once again, like Ralph said, what this means for their reality, it opens up the whole shebang about like what this potentially could mean. We will have to wait to see what goes down in the finale to see how this all ends up playing out. I am so excited to see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good